Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report, week number 12. Drew Martin, Teddy Covers, breaking it down, getting you on the right side of some of these moves for the upcoming week. Happy Thanksgiving out there to you. Thanks for tuning in right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. And happy Thanksgiving to you, Teddy Covers, at Teddy_Covers, my partner in crime here on the NFL Opening Line Report. Welcome in, buddy. Happy Monday to you.
Hey, Drew, great to be here. Happy Thanksgiving for all of you out there. Hope you enjoy your Turkey Day week. We'll see if we can put you, like as Drew was saying, on the right side of some of these moves for week 12 in the NFL. This is the last day of week 11 tonight. And week 12 starts this coming week of the 18-week NFL campaign. So ready to roll, Drew.
Let's get after it, Teddy. It is the week 12 NFL Opening Line Report. But like Teddy just said, last game for week 11 is tonight, Monday night. It's the Arizona Cardinals, Teddy, and the San Francisco 49ers. Vamos a Stadium Azteca, Ciudad de Mexico, down to Mexico City, south of the border. High elevation here, Teddy, and we've seen some movement. San Francisco taking some money, minus 10-point favorites, 43 being the total. What do you like it in Mexico City tonight? What are you thinking tonight's game, real quick?
Well, Kyler Murray is still officially listed as questionable. The betting markets are telling us they don't expect Kyler Murray to play. It's been nothing but money for San Francisco, and it's been nothing but money for the under. The under money coming this morning, the overnight move. I mean, this line was 8 last night and was 10 this morning, which tells us where the money came overnight. All San Fran money. And that's, again, all about Kyler Murray and his availability / the lack thereof, especially against a pretty tough San Francisco defense. So the markets are basically telling us they don't expect a whole lot from Arizona offensively tonight against the 49ers, hence the San Fran money and the under money that continues to roll as we speak.
Guys, we got a split card here, a trifecta on Thursday. That's Thanksgiving to open up week 12. We got a Sunday slate and then one on Monday as well for the week 12 NFL slate. So we're starting here at the top, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Thanksgiving Day. 105, 106 as we're making our way down in rotation order on the Wager Talk live odds screen. Buffalo Bills at the Detroit Lions. Teddy, we are seeing it. Buffalo -9 pretty much across the board. There is 1-9 in the hook out there. 54 being the total. What are you thinking to kick us off on Thanksgiving in the Motor City?
So with every game on the board, we're going to go through the exact same process. We're going to talk about what the look-ahead line was last week. That's the bettable line on this game. I use the Westgate Superbook numbers and then track the moves throughout the week. I'm going to give you my powering number for each game. We're going to talk about where it opened and where the initial money has gone, and then we'll talk about the team. So every game has a very specific trajectory as we talk about it. With Buffalo and Detroit, the look-ahead line, Bills -10. Total opened 51.5 and was bet up to 52.5. My powering number for the game is Bills -9, which is right where the markets are at this morning. Last night it was 9.5. There was a split line. We're seeing mostly 9s on Monday. Total, nothing but over money. Was 51.5, bet up to 52.5. Now we're seeing 54s. And the Lions continue to be a team that the betting markets want to play over the total, even though all of a sudden the defense is starting to do something right. The run defense was there yesterday. The pass rush was there yesterday in the win over the Giants. 19 carries from Giants running back / wide receiver. The longest carry was 5 yards. 39 total yards allowed in those 19 carries. Lions defense forced 3 turnovers. Dan Campbell, quote, "These guys are playing their butts off." Now they're trying to starting to figure out a way to win. Of course, Detroit already have one more win they did last year when they went 3-13. Now they're 4-6, riding a rare winning streak and returning back home They're saying the right things. So is Buffalo. Buffalo looked way out of sync early yesterday against Cleveland, as you would expect for a team that just left a home game behind, went through a blizzard, went to Detroit. What was impressive about the Bills was that after they were out of sync, they got back on track. They straightened it out. Josh Allen, we could have easily folded and allowed it to be an excuse for us. Stephon Diggs, back on track. This is a good quote from Sean McDermott, talking about the experience of all of a sudden you're dealing with a blizzard and you have this home game that gets transferred out. Quote, when you go through a shared experience like this, it can bring a team closer together. That being said, from a value standpoint, Lions are offering something right now. They're playing better football than they were. The betting markets are telling us that with some of the Detroit money off the look at.
Heading to the middle game here on Thanksgiving. NFC East battle, Teddy. We get the New York Football Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. -9. That's the Cowboys at home. 44.5 being the total. 107-108 Giants at Cowboys.
Look ahead line here. Dallas opened -6.5 and we're bet up to -7 last week. Total was 43. So obviously we saw a pretty significant adjustment for Dallas from a look ahead line of 6.5 bet up to 7. We saw 8s at the open, total of 43.5. Again, we've seen over money bet up to 44.5, and we've seen Dallas money bet up to -9. My power rating for the game is also Dallas -9. And look, the Cowboys looked very much like a Super Bowl team yesterday. They played a near perfect game, but it's definitely worth noting. We'll talk about this when we talk about the Vikings. The Vikings ran out of gas. They ran out of gas early, and there was nothing left in the tank for Minnesota. So from my handicapping 101 perspective, here's Dallas coming off a huge blowout win that may not be quite as impressive as it looked. They had the right opponent at the right time. That being said, Dallas is looking like a Super Bowl team. You have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Micah Parsons, he reminds me of Ray Lewis more than anyone since Ray Lewis right now. Zeke back in the lineup. Pollard averaging 6 yards a carry. Gallup, CD. It was a scary passing game yesterday. The kicker who's nailing 60-yarders, 12 of 17 on third downs. The defense that's making plays. But, of course, they did it against a team that was a complete no-show. So sometimes those numbers look a little bit better. Of course, the Giants played one of the worst games of the year yesterday. The ball after the game. Quote, it just wasn't good enough today. Again, it's hard to overcome 3 turnovers. The Giants can't run. They can't win. This is a team that needs to run the football. They need to be able to get stops defensively. We've seen some cracks, certainly yesterday, in both of those elements. They didn't run the football. The offensive line got blown up. It was not an inspired showing. Was potentially a flat spot for the G-men. We'll see how well they bounce back here. From a value standpoint, again, look at line 6.5 bet up to 7. You're catching 9s right now with the G-men, and this number is only going in one direction.
Speaking of the Cowboys looking good, they did it against the Minnesota Vikings. That's our nightcap here on Thanksgiving, 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific kick in this one. We are seeing the Vikings -3-point home favorites hosting the New England Patriots here, Teddy. 42.5 Patriots at Vikings to end it on Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, and frankly, we could emergency betting alert this 42.5. I don't think that number's going to hold if you like the under. I bet that sooner rather than later. Look headline here was Minnesota -3.5. It was bet down to -3.5 even money, -120 at the +3.5. So there was basically one bet on New England at that price, or one big bet. Total opened 43.5 at the look ahead. Opened 42.5 last night. We're seeing 42s starting to pop up now. From a power rating standpoint, my powering number for the game, 2.5. Markets are at 3. And I'm not getting a sense this name is going to move off 3. One would anticipate that Minnesota is going to go off as 3-point favorites against New England. We talk about the little things that Belichick does. Belichick won the toss. He chose to take the wind in the fourth quarter. What happened? Ended up the fact that he had the wind on his side. The Jets' punt was caught up in the wind. It was this low punt, and boom. That decision ends up being the difference in the game. That little thing in their favor. Look, Mac Jones had a great day yesterday. 23 of 27, 246. Even though they only scored one field goal in the game on offense, despite getting inside the Jets' 30 on 3 different occasions. New England defensively was dominant, and they did move the football on the offensive side of the equation. Minnesota quit yesterday, which, again, you can understand how exhausted that team was. They simply, after the Bills game, they just didn't have any fight left in them. But it was concerning to see the level of quit for Minnesota yesterday. They had 6 penalties for 54 yards in the third quarter. Dak Prescott wasn't pressured. He wasn't sacked at all in the afternoon. The running defense. I mean, it was as big of a no-show as you'll see from any team all year. Short week in theory. They're supposed to bounce back, but are they gassed? That's definitely a concern right now for a Vikings team that was living on borrowed time for a long time, and that came crashing, burning down.
Okay, let's move on to the Sunday slate, November 27th, starting at the top of the card, making our way down. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. 251, 252 Baltimore Ravens at the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're seeing the Ravens -4 across the board as the road favorite. 44, as high as 45 as the total. What are we thinking? Ravens at Jags in North Florida.
So look ahead line here. Baltimore -4 at the open, bet down to 3.5. The total at the open was 46.5 and bet up to 47. My powering number came higher, came Baltimore -5 for this one. Last night, we were looking at 3.5/4, a split line, and now we're basically seeing 4s across the board. But the big move here has come on the under, which was 46.5, again, 47 to look ahead, 46 last night. We're looking at 44s right now. So the market's definitely looking at this as a lower scoring game. And the Ravens, their offense was out of sync yesterday for an extended period. Lamar had the flu all week or a stomach ailment or whatever it was. He missed practice on Friday. They were coming off a bye, and the offense never got going. He had his first turnovers in the last 4 games. But the defense for Baltimore forced 3 turnovers in the last 8 minutes of the game. John Harbaugh, quote, "For us to be able to kind of turn back into being a turnover-creating defense is a really big deal. We've got some guys that are ball hawks." And, of course, Baltimore now with a +9 turnover margin. They have at least 1 takeaway in 12 straight games. And let's not forget, the Ravens are 7-3. The 3 losses all came in games where they had double-digit leads in the second half. This team could be 10-0 right now. Lamar Jackson talking about the rough offensive showing. Quote, "That's November, December football. Just got to find a way to win to get in the playoffs. That's what it's all about right now. Some of them are going to be ugly. Some of them are going to be pretty, but a win is a win." Worth noting that Baltimore had rushed for 150-plus yards in 8 straight games. Carolina held them just 115 yards on the ground yesterday. Of course, the Jags are coming off the bye week after the loss to Kansas City. The Jags were +3 in turnovers in the game against the Chiefs, and they recovered an onside kick. They were +9.5, and they lost by 10. That's kind of the story of Jacksonville. Their first 6 possessions, 5 punts and a missed field goal. Those slow starts have been a problem. That being said, the quote from Andy Reid after the game, "They gave us all we could handle, and it wound up being a good game at the end." Tough schedule upcoming for Jacksonville. Baltimore, Dallas, Tennessee twice, and the Jets down the stretch. Not going to get easy for the Jags. And, of course, when it comes to the stronger home fields in the NFL, Jacksonville doesn't have one of them. If anything, this number more likely to go up than to go down.
Great breakdown, Teddy. Yeah, when I looked at it, I thought the number might be short on Baltimore, but then you get the young quarterback, new system off of the bye week. You can see why the number is just 4. We got 253, 254, 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Denver at Carolina. Speaking of the Panthers, they're catching 2.5 here, Teddy, at home. So that's the Broncos as the road favorite, -2 in the hook at most shops. There is a flat 2 out there. 35 being the total. Broncos at Panthers, Teddy.
Oh, Broncos look-ahead line was -2.5. Total was 36. Bet up to 36.5 on the look-ahead. My powering number only has Denver -1. And, of course, the market's 2.5 and 35.5 at the open. We've seen a little bit of under money since then. The 35.5 is largely been taken out. And Denver's not a team that anyone wants to lay points with on the highway. And again, the Broncos finding ways to lose winnable games. Russell Wilson has been a starting quarterback in this league for a decade. And the mistake Russell Wilson made yesterday is they're trying to burn clock inside of 2 minutes, where he, instead of just falling down and punting like they're supposed to do, he throws an incomplete pass to nobody that gives the Raiders an extra 20 to 40 seconds, which is enough time for them to tie a game in regulation. And then the pass defense breaking down. Kid Kubiak took over as the play caller yesterday. They had a 92-yard opening touchdown drive. Their first opening touchdown drive of the year, and then they didn't score another touchdown for the rest of the game. The run defense got gashed. That was a really concerning loss for Denver yesterday. This is not a team that the market's going to be excited about, and not a team that's the only reason they're favored here is they're facing Carolina. And look, the Panthers, their defense played with passion and fire. This isn't a quick team by any means. They had 11 for tackles for loss last week against Atlanta. They had a bunch yesterday. But, you know, they're having issues right now at the quarterback position, to put it mildly. 3 Carolina turnovers in the final 8 minutes of the game. And Baker Mayfield is showing us pretty clearly. Again, when you're talking about the shorter QBs, all right, now we're seeing with Russell Wilson. There was Drew Brees. There was one guy who was elite under 6-foot quarterback in the NFL. Nobody else is. You know, Wilson had his moments. He's not there anymore. Baker Mayfield, you know, he's not seeing things. Passes are getting batted down at the line of scrimmage. And we're talking about a team that entered the game with the worst third down conversion rate in the NFL at 28%. The good teams, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincy, are all at 50% or higher. And, you know, the defense is playing. There's some semblance of a running game sometimes. You know, they held the Ravens, I talked about it a minute ago, to 115 yards on 30 carries after Baltimore had rushed 150 plus in 8 straight games. But from a can they move the football standpoint, a quarterback play standpoint, it's a problem right now for Carolina. This is not a team. You know, they haven't let go of the rope, but you're taking the Panthers. Let's put it this way. Denver is pretty bad. They're favored here, which is telling us what the markets are thinking of Carolina right now.
Next up, heading to our nation's capital, we get Atlanta Falcons and the Washington former football team, the Commanders, now 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. We got the Commanders open -3, now 3.5 across the board here, Teddy. They've been hot. Heineke at the quarterback position up against the Dirty Birds, 43 being the total. Falcons at Commanders, Teddy.
Yeah. Look, headline here is Washington -3. The total got bet up, 41.5 at the open. It was 42.5 before kickoff. My powering number for the game came 3.5. The market's open 3 -20 and 43. And we've seen pretty steady Washington money since that span. Let's start talking about the Commanders for a minute. You know, the defense is scoring touchdowns. The defensive line is controlling the flow. All right, they're about to get Chase Young back. Chase Young could come back this week. He missed more than a year since tearing his ACL. I don't know if he's going to be an impact player in week 1, but he might be. They just took Dameon Pierce, who's one of the favorites to an offensive rookie of the year, and held him to a season low 8 yards in that ball game. They've made the right decision at the quarterback position. Taylor Heineke, look, he's rough, but they've clearly bought in, and he gives them every ounce of energy that he's got, and they've been winning since he took over. You know, and Rivera talking about why he's put Carson Wentz at the bench. Quote, you know, we're going to go with Taylor and we'll work Carson back in and see where he is in terms of when he's ready to be the backup. Asked why he made the decision. Ron Rivera said, quote, winning. That's the truth. That's where we are. This team's got playmaking weapons. Dotson, McLaurin, Samuel, Gibson, Logan Thomas was making plays yesterday. They're above 500 right now. There are things to like about the Commanders. The betting marketplace is clearly there. Atlanta, they found a team, they made enough plays to win yesterday. They're only a half game out of first place in the NFC South right now. Cordell Patterson, with his 9th career kickoff return touchdown. They got to stop when they needed to, but they did suffer a couple of more injuries. And from a defensive standpoint, look, yes, Atlanta got the win yesterday. They got the cover against a closing number. The markets still aren't excited about the Falcons, and frankly, I don't blame them.
Teddy, good stuff so far. Huge shout out to the chat box. We got Pete DuBois saying happy Thanksgiving to all. Love this show. Great info. Well, thanks to you, Pete, for the kind words, and happy Thanksgiving to you. RJ in the house, Kevin as well, asking a question. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible at the end, guys. Would appreciate it if you could smash that like button. It does help us out, and feel free to comment below on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Ken S. in the house as well. We got Tyrone, Slow Jams, all of you guys. We got Kansas City watching live. Let us know where you're watching from, what you're looking to bet. All is welcome here in the Wager Talk live chat box, also below in the reply section. Next game up, we got 257, 258 as we're making our way down in rotation order, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick here, Teddy. Tampa Bay at Cleveland. We're seeing the Buccaneers minus 3-point road favorites, 43.5 being the total in Cleveland.
And I just want to talk for 1 minute before we start here on my analysis for Tampa and Cleveland. I want to talk 1 minute about the process. You know, I got my ass kicked yesterday, all right? Every bad beat we're going to talk about, I had them. Every wrong side, I had them. It was not a pleasant day for myself. It wasn't a pleasant day for your clients. What I do, take a couple minutes, get pissed off, and then sit down and get your work done. We're prepared for the Monday show. Good week or bad week. You want to do this seriously, you need a level of professionalism that allows you to overcome whether you had won everything, you need to come down off the high, or you lost everything, you need to come up off the low. One of the things we try to do is that level of focus every Monday. Doesn't matter you won or lost yesterday. You're trying to look forward, not be obsessed by what just happened behind you. So that's what I'll say. That's what I say. I'm getting my ass kicked. Boy, was I some stupid plays yesterday and some really bad results. All that being said, Bucs and the Browns look ahead line. Tampa -3. Total was bet down from 45.5 down to 44. So lots of under money on the look ahead line for that one. My powering number only is the Bucs 2.5. Well, I think that's short. I really do. I wouldn't bet off of that powering number. The market's open 3 and 44 on Tampa. And we're seeing a little bit more under money, down to 43.5. It's worth noting, you know, I know that the win over L.A. doesn't look that great necessarily after L.A. looked just as bad against the Saints yesterday. But the Bucs, with their season on the line, getting that win, all right. Prior to the here's the quote from the Chris Godwin told Mike Evans before the game-winning drive against the Rams, quote, "This is the drive that's going to get us back on track, not for the game, but for the season." So we're talking about a team, you know, they're 5-5. They got back-to-back wins. They're going off 10 of 15 on third downs. You know, this is a positive, a big positive for Tampa. For Cleveland, look, I mean, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games. You have Jacoby Brissett, who's now splitting snaps with Deshaun Watson in practice. And Brissett had a pretty good game. It's a 28 of 41, 324, season high, 3 touchdowns. But it wasn't enough. The run defense is getting gashed. They had a handful of stops, but way too many big gainers from that run defense. Kevin Stefanski, who's now under fire, quote, "We're in search of a win. Which way we can get it. I know these guys are putting in the effort. We just have to finish football games. And it's really frustrating." One would anticipate we'll see some Tampa money this week. I'm not convinced the markets are excited about Cleveland once again. And the Bucs, off the bye and off the back-to-back wins, they're showing signs right now.
Teddy, great game up next. 2 teams here in the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. We are seeing actually the Bengals -1, -1.5, depending on where you're shopping. I guess we could call it -1.25 here, kind of a split line. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, 42.5 being the total in Nashville. Teddy, this Tennessee Titans team, what a wagon, and they're not getting enough respect, in my opinion, catching points at home. What are we thinking here, Bengals and Titans?
Look at line here, Cincy -2, 42.5. My powering number is Cincy -1.5. The markets are 1.5 today. So I'm not getting a sense that Tennessee is severely undervalued in the betting markets. And is Tennessee in a situation like Minnesota was in this past week, where they've won a bunch of close games and They're ready to exhale a little bit. 1.5, 43. And again, we're seeing a little bit of last night, and we're seeing a little bit of under money come in this one. When you talk about the elite quarterbacks right now in the NFL, you know, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert on the list. Is Aaron Rodgers still on the list? Joe Burrow's on that list. Okay. He was amazing again in yesterday's game against Pittsburgh. And the calmness with Joe Burrow. The second half run last year with Joe Burrow. You know, this team's top 3 in offensive third down conversion rate. They're just shy of 50%. They're really hard to get off the field. The passing game has been pretty dynamic. That being said, you know, Tannehill had 333 passing yards last week against Green Bay. His quote, "We want to be a balanced attack. We're going to run the football. We're going to be physical. And we're going to try to take advantage of some opportunities that arise from that in passing." I don't think the formula is any different than it's been for the past 4 years. Be physical, establish a run, and have opportunities in the passing game off of that. Be interested to see if the Todd Downing getting arrested for DUI affects Tennessee at all. That's one you want to keep your eye on for sure. And Cincy, again, they showed us last year down the stretch they weren't a team to trifle with. I'm not convinced I want to step in front of Cincinnati this week either, even with Tennessee still being a quote-unquote undervalued commodity. The injuries for the Titans, they've overcome injuries very, very well this season. That being said, they have a ton of injuries, and we'll see. I can only bet Cincy in this game. There appears to be a pretty big betting bandwagon on the other side right now for Tennessee.
Teddy, next game up, we're heading to South Florida here. 1 o'clock Eastern kick. Houston at Miami. We are seeing the Dolphins minus 12-point home favorites. 46 being the total. I know Houston's bad, Teddy. Miami playing good, but as a lifelong Dolphins fan, I can't tell you the last time I saw the Dolphins laying 12. What are we thinking here in Hard Rock Stadium?
Now, my priority number is 14. So I think it's cheap. Look ahead line, Dolphins minus 9.5, bet up to 10.5. The total opened 45, bet up to 45.5 on the look ahead. Last night we saw 11.5, 45.5 at the open. Today we're seeing 12 and 46. And frankly, this line can only go higher. I'm tempted to emergency betting alert this one, but you know, the markets are not excited about the Houston Texans. You know, it's a last place team at the tail end of a lousy season. And again, we saw this from Lovie Smith's teams at Illinois, where they start out and they're okay, and then they just get worse as the season progresses. This team's getting worse. Lovie Smith, quote, "There's not a whole lot that we're doing well. We're building. We're not quite there yet. We're not a good football team right now." Lovie, quote, "You say it starts with the quarterback." Davis Mills had another bad day yesterday, 2 interceptions, 148 total yards of offense. And, of course, a team that's 1-8-1, the NFL's worst team so far this season. Lovie, quote again, "You say it starts with the QB, but no, it starts up front. Today with that type of pressures, I don't know how many quarterbacks could have had success." Again, they were outgained 246-5 in the first half of that loss. Markets are not excited about the Texans right now. Dolphins are starting to sell out games. You know, this place hasn't sold out a whole lot. Coming off a really impressive win over Cleveland, where they gained 7.3 yards per play in a bye week after they shut down Nick Chubb in that contest. Mike McDaniel, quote, "Tua is playing very, very high-level football. It's phenomenal to watch." When I look at Miami right now, again, you talk about the greatest receiving corps in NFL history or modern NFL history. You got Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce for the Rams. You got Wes Welker and Randy Moss for the Patriots. You got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins. That's the level of receiving play that Miami has. Again, I could easily emergency betting alert this. This number can only go up. We're not going to see a groundswell of wise guy or public support for Houston this week. If you like the Dolphins, I bet it sooner rather than later. Worth noting this one last quote. It's from Myles Garrett. I always like the quotes from the opposing team talking about the team they just faced. Myles Garrett talking about what the Dolphins were trying to do against them. Quote, "We knew they were unique in what they did. that they were going to throw a lot of different looks at us. It really kept us on the back foot, kept us hesitant, and they capitalized that a lot. Likely to happen for Houston as well. If you like Miami, bet them right now.
What a great midday sports talk radio segment there, ranking NFL historical wide receiver duos. Love that, Teddy. Unfortunately, we got to head down the list here. Chicago and the New York Jets. So Bears at the Jets here. Jets -6 at home. 42 being the total. Some 41.5s out there, Teddy. Bears at the Jets on Sunday.
Look ahead line here with the Jets -4. The total opened 48. Bet down to 46.5 in the look ahead line. My powering number came at 3.25. Came to 3/3.5 or 3 -20. Right on that, where it's 3.5 even or 3 -120, however you want to put it. The markets were at 4 and 44 last night, and the markets are very concerned about the availability of Justin Fields. For today, he's officially listed as questionable for this one. We'll have to track his injury info. Obviously, Justin Fields' availability. If he's good, we will see Chicago money. If he's not good, we may see additional Jets money. The Bears are 9 of 16 on third downs again yesterday, top 5 in third down conversion of the season. That said, they've lost 4 straight games. They've lost 6 of their last 7, and they can't get stops, and they're giving up special teams touchdowns. These are problems for Chicago. You can't like anything about what happened yesterday for the Jets. There was a number, not one, there were a number of concerning incidents in the locker room after the game with players throwing other players under the bus. Zach Wilson was rough, 9 of 22 for a career low 77 yards. The Jets had 6 first downs the entire game. A win would have put them in first place in the AFC East. Now they're in last place in the AFC East. But, Robert Saleh called the offense, it was dog shit. The rookie wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. This shit is sorry. We're out here looking sorry, and we know we're not sorry. That's why it really hurts. We know we're better than that. That's why it hurts. The Jets had everything go right for them in terms of New England missed field goals, and they had a dropped interception against Zach Wilson, and they still screwed it up at the end of the game. And it was entirely, you want to point the finger. The defense played their guts out, and the offense was inept. That can be a problem locker room-wise, and there were some clear problems in the locker room after the loss yesterday. We'll see, again, the markets. I know it's 6 now. It may go higher if Fields doesn't play. But the Jets may not be an easy team to lay 6 with this week, although the difference between Chicago's defense that they're facing here and the Patriots' defense, night and day. The Bears haven't stopped anybody. And maybe it is a buy cheap sign, buy the Jets cheaply here, given Chicago's defensive concerns.
On to the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kicks here is we got a full NFL opening line report for you. I don't believe any bye weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Teddy. But we got the LA Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, note here, guys, the Cardinals playing tonight, Monday Night Football in Mexico City, heading back home on Sunday to host the Chargers. Chargers -3.5 point road favorites, 47.5 being the total here, Teddy.
We'll come back to Raiders Seahawks in just a second. But the Chargers look-ahead line here was -2.5. Total bet from 48 down to 47.5 on the look-ahead numbers. My number has LA only -1 for this ball game, but I'm a little bit off markets. I haven't adjusted Arizona, whether it's Murray or McCoy, so I'm not surprised that my number is off there. I haven't adjusted Arizona down for that. Markets open 3 and 47.5, and they've been bet up. So we're seeing nothing but anti-Arizona money. Obviously, we'll see what happens tonight for Arizona. There's a ton of question marks for injuries for Arizona. Kyler Murray still questionable. Hollywood Brown still questionable. Buda Baker's questionable. Rodney Hudson's questionable. DJ Humphrey's questionable. Byron Murphy questionable. Those are all starters. Those are all impact players. I don't know if any of them are going to play tonight. I don't know if any of them are going to play next week. So something to be aware of. Chargers, again, yesterday found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Justin Herbert drive them down the field for the game-winning score, but the defense couldn't hold it. And that's, back-to-back losses. Chargers, this is supposed to be their get-right game, but at the same time, you're laying a premium with a team that can't get stops and isn't playing great football on a week-in, week-out basis.
And my apologies, guys. I did skip the Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks, something I wish, maybe Raiders fans wish the 2022 season would have been skipped here. But 47.5 being the total, Teddy. That is the Raiders laying on the road. In the Pacific Northwest, we got the Seattle Seahawks minus 3.5-point favorites. What are we thinking here in Seattle, Teddy?
Yeah, so look at line here with Seattle minus 3. That was bet up to 3.5 during the week. Total was 47 at the open, bet up to 47.5 during the week. My powering number is higher on the game. I see Seattle minus 5. The markets were 4 last night, and we're seeing 3.5s this morning with the 47.5. So we're seeing some Raiders money that maybe yesterday's come from behind win at Denver can spark that team, a team that is pretty dramatically underachieved so far, and they're facing a fairly mediocre defensive foe, certainly a weaker defensive foe than the one they faced yesterday. And the Raiders, when they can run Josh Jacobs, all of a sudden Devontae Adams has room. Max Crosby, basically yesterday's game was 3 players. Jacobs kept on grinding out yards. He would hit behind the line of scrimmage, and he'd still get 4. We saw Adams make a handful of plays, and Max Crosby on the defensive side. It forced a fumble, blocked the field goal, had 2 sacks, and Denver, of course, didn't make any adjustments try to stop Max Crosby, which allowed him to wreak havoc throughout the ballgame. So the Raiders stars are playing like stars right now. Seattle's played 3 games against defense in the top half of the NFL. The offense didn't work in any of them. The offense has worked well in all their games against the defense in the bottom half of the league. The Raiders, bottom half of the league when it comes to defensive yards per play and many other stats. And, of course, Seattle coming off the loss in Munich and the bye. So, whereas the Raiders coming off the walk-off win, Seattle's coming off a loss and extra time to repair, which tend to be a good thing for Pete Carroll coach teams.
We got the Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs up next, 4:25 Eastern kick in this one, Teddy. We just heard you say the Chargers, the victory out of the hands of defeat, but the opposite of that, I think the saying goes. Well, the Chiefs winning the game, laying 14.5 at home, 44 being the total. LA Rams, Kansas City Chiefs, Teddy.
Yeah, so again, we got to look at lines to tell us what we can expect after one game's worth of difference. The Chiefs were minus 10 at the look ahead, minus 10.5. I did give it about up to 10.5. 45.5 was the total for that contest. My powering number 14 with the Matthew Stafford injury, and the markets don't look like they think Stafford's going to play here. 14.5 and 44 so far this morning. And of course, before Stafford left, they already lost their left tackle, Ty Neshke, to an injury. They lost Sean Robinson on the defensive line to injury. I got the Rams power rated bottom 5 in the NFL right now. Again, a team that won the Super Bowl last year, all right? They're supposed to be all that. And right now, they're a 3-win team post-Thanksgiving. They'll be playing post-Thanksgiving. They're a last-place team or a last-place caliber team. When you have a team that was thinking Super Bowl and they're a disaster by this part of the campaign, hard team for me to put my money on. And, of course, Bryce Perkins, he led the Rams to a field goal on his first series and then was pretty awful the rest of the way. Got sacked twice. Issues. KC found a way to win. Impressive last night coming from behind. Patrick Mahomes with the game on the line has been fantastic. Kansas City in this point spread range, not quite as good a bet. You wonder, coming off that divisional come from behind win, if the Chiefs, the Chiefs are not a team that consistently puts the pedal to the metal, and cover this number, it's something they're likely going to need to do.
3 games left here, guys. We're talking the last Sunday afternoon kick, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific. New Orleans at San Francisco. Of course, the 49ers, guys, do play Monday Night Football in Mexico City, heading back home, hosting the Saints here, Teddy. -8. There are a couple -8.5 favorites. That is the 49ers at home, 42 being the total, Saints at Niners.
Yeah, and there's definitely correlation between San Fran tonight and San Fran here. If the Niners blow out Arizona tonight, this line's going to come up 10 tomorrow. So if you do like San Fran, you may want to take them twice. Look ahead line here was 8.5, total 41.5. My powering number is 9.5 for this ball game. And we're seeing 8.5s and 42s. Basically hasn't moved from what we saw last night. Look, the Saints defense was pretty rough right now. Again, they're without Cam Jordan, without Marcus Davenport. Peyton Turner was carted off in the second quarter. That's their top 3 defensive ends in that ball game. And yet they still had 4 sacks. Carl Granderson, Caden Ellis, 1.5 each. A couple of guys that are, young reserves who were taking advantage of their playing time. And Andy Dalton was chucking it around, in a game where, again, he's facing a lesser defense than the one he'll face here. But Dennis Allen, good quote here from the Saints after that win. We're well aware of where we're at in the season. Our guys came out and they were swinging today. It was good to see. I often don't trust teams that came into the season with some expectations. They're not going anywhere. They just had a nice win where they played well. Now they got to go on the road and face a team with a defense. It's not necessarily an optimal spot for New Orleans. And again, if San Fran looks good tonight, I do expect this line to come higher tomorrow. The 8.5s. 8, there are even 8s out there right now. That's probably the mix between 8 and 8.5. There's urgency for San Fran if they take care of business this evening.
Sunday nighter and Monday nighter to end it, guys. Smash that like button if you're liking the content. NFL opening line report. Drew Martin, Teddy covers each and every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific start on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Sunday night football here, Teddy. Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. We're seeing Eagles -7 pretty much across the board as the home favorite. 45.5 being the total. Packers at Eagles Sunday night football, Teddy.
Philly, look ahead line, -6. Total 44.5. My powering number, Philly -9. So I'm off market on this. Obviously, with last night there were 6.5s out. Everything's 7 today. Total 45, but up to 45.5. So we have seen a little bit of early over money. There's certainly something positive from Green Bay in the loss. They held Tennessee to 2.8 yards per carry, held Derrick Henry under 100 yards. But it didn't matter. They got gashed by Ryan Tannehill, and the offense didn't move the football. And this is now a 4-7 team that is 1-6 in their last 7 ball games. Matt LaFleur, quote, coming off the Thursday night loss, they do have extra time to prepare for this one. LaFleur, extremely disappointed to put on a performance like that. I don't even know what to say. It was nothing like a few days ago, and that's why you're only as good as your last game. Aaron Rodgers. And this won't concern me. We've got to play up to our potential. If we play up to our potential, we can win our last 6 games. I'm confident in that. Obviously, I've got to play up to my potential. Tonight wasn't it. I don't want a guy telling me he's going to win the next 6 games. I want a guy telling me he's going to win this week. And that's what the Packers need to do. And obviously, we're talking about touchdown dogs against an Eagles team that I'll give Philly again. They were not pretty yesterday. They were clearly flat after suffering their first loss of the season. Their offense wasn't in good form. And what happened against a good defense? 2 things happened. One, the defensive line blew up the game and kept them in the game. And game on the line, fourth quarter, Jalen Hurts let them down the field and into the end zone. Their last win when trailing by double digits in the fourth quarter came back in 2010 against the Giants. That was the Deshaun Jackson punt return touchdown, the one that we're talking about today because of the punt return touchdown in New England yesterday. That's the last time Philly rallied from double digits in the fourth quarter. It's been forever. They did it yesterday. It's a positive team. Nick Sirianni put the ball in the hands of the players you need a big moment from. Jalen took it from there. I think the Eagles are priced cheap here. I'm not convinced Green Bay is going to continue to battle. They have some concerns for the Packers.
Guys, just we're up against it time-wise, but fire out a couple questions. We'll try to get to as many as possible before shutting it down. Last game here, Teddy, Monday, November 28th, Pittsburgh at Indianapolis. Monday night, 8:15 Eastern kick. 40 being the total. We're actually seeing a little under money. 39 now, Teddy. -3. That's the Colts as the home favorite hosting the Steelers Monday Night Football.
Yeah, we have an emergency betting alert of the whole show. And I keep on saying, well, we could emergency betting alert this. We could have emergency betting alert that. We can emergency betting alert this total. If you like the under, bet it right now. In fact, we should have one official one. Let's do it, Dan. Steelers and the Colts. We've seen nothing but under money. We're likely to see more under money between two teams that are relying on their defenses as much as their offenses right now. Look at line here. Indy -3, total 39.5. Colts got bet down to 2.5, -20. The look ahead, my powering number was 3. The markets was split last night, 3/2.5. More 3s than 2.5s. Today it's all 3s. Total 39.5. There's actually 140 out there, one prominent. I think it's coming down. I think it might come down a fair bit. Look, Kenny Pickett, 6 yards per attempt. That's the lowest among NFL starters. The offensive line's not holding up that particularly well. They're no bottom feeder. And Pittsburgh with Watt in the lineup, their defense night and day with Watt in the lineup. They did score 20 points in the first half. That's the most points they scored in regulations this season. But then after halftime, 4 of their 5 positions ended with a punt. Indy's playing defense, but they put with Matt Ryan behind center. If you face a deficit at the end of the game, you have no chance. Not behind that offensive line. Quote from Matt Ryan, "That's a tough one to swallow. Make no mistake, that's a good football team. We did a lot of really good things. We made too many mistakes. This one feels like we let it get away." You did let it get away because the offense didn't work. That's been a problem for Indy. It's likely to be a problem once again against this Steelers squad that, give Mike Tomlin credit. Pittsburgh playing with passion, and again, they're no bottom feeder. The markets are telling us that with this number.
I like it, Teddy. Ended it with an emergency betting alert, guys. NFL opening line report. Fire away any questions. We got one here from Austin Snow, Teddy. Please smash that like button as well. Austin asking, is there any advantage or disadvantage to playing on Thanksgiving, in your opinion, Teddy?
Advantage or disadvantage? So you get it has both. It's a disadvantage to try to put the game plan. Now, NFL Thursday football is not a great product. It's really hard to put a game plan together in 2 days. All right? It's really hard for players that are used to having 5 or 6 days of recovery time, having 2 days of recovery time. So it's hard for the coaches. It's hard for the players. I like experienced teams and experienced coaches and experienced quarterbacks on Thursday night more than I like the inexperienced ones, for sure. But in terms of who it's an advantage for, I think it's a disadvantage for coaches who haven't been in these spots, and more of an advantage for the coaches that have. But other than that, it's not anything that I say other than there's not any other dramatic difference that I could say, yes, this is what you do on Thursday night. Thursday night, I want to bet against the older quarterbacks who are struggling to get their recovering time, and I want to bet against the younger coaches who haven't done it, putting together a game plan. It's more about bet against than bet ons a lot of times on Thursday Night Football.
Teddy, we got Ball State Journal saying, is taking only 13-point teasers a rookie strategy? ? Is there something as too many legs on a teaser?
Yes and yes.
Teddy, last question here. Is Teddy going to watch the USA versus Wales in the World Cup? That's from Simon and Austin saying, any quick thoughts on the USA World Cup before it kicks off?
I heard 2 people tell me they liked USA today. Okay. Am I going to watch it? It has the potential to be on in the background. There's zero chance I'll be focusing. We got a lot of work to do, man. So it's not let's kick back and watch World Cup Day. We're going out of town on Wednesday. We had a crappy week. It's work time. So no, I'm not going to be watching it a whole lot. Again, I'm sure I'll have it on. I got the 3 TVs up here. I'm sure it'll be on one of them.
Short, level, condensed week.
Yeah, it's not going to have volume. I'll put it that way.
A lot going on. I'm like every other schmuck out there, guys, laying the -145 with the USA. Who knows? Get after it. Let's go USA versus Wales. Teddy, up against it time-wise. Any final thoughts here before we shut it down?
Hey, look, thanks for watching. If you like this show, we've been growing. The numbers have been phenomenal all year, and they continue to grow. So I thank you. Really, thank you for watching. Please tell your friends. And have a very happy and safe holiday weekend. We'll talk to you again next month.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below. Let us know you're watching, where you're watching from. For Teddy Covers, I am Drew Martin. Happy Thanksgiving. Cash those tickets.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.